Hey guys, Luton here, and we're looking today at Sims 4, the new Sims 4 game, and obviously this is a little bit out of style for the channel itself, but EA have asked me to take a look at it, and I've played Sims in the past, and I thought, hey, this is the new incarnation, you know, may as well have a little look at it and see what's going on with it, what's new, what's changed, what's good about it, does it play out well. You know, in the past I had a few issues with this game itself, and therefore I wanted to see what this new updated version kind of would have on offer. It was also good because I streamed a lot tonight, and so the guys there were able to give us some feedback. Now you just saw right there we were designing the clothes, the look, the feel, the personality of our character, and you can really go into detail and choose all the different traits and characteristics that you want for your player. You can choose to be a very younger person, you can be an older person, you can go in and design it really however you want to. The next thing that you then have got to do is obviously choose the location that you want to live in, and you know, beginning you don't have very much money, so you have to choose a fairly sort of low wealth area to start off in. Something that I do like is that the stylization definitely has transitioned across from sort of Sim City, so you have got that feel, that new kind of design for the kind of Sim universe coming in here, and that sort of plays out through very well into this. But my main concerns really with the game are about the way in which you as a player sort of engage and what you actually do with it. I actually love the initial stage, the building, the designing, the getting, you know, involved in sort of building that house up. I actually think that's done very, very well, and the detail is very encompassing that they put into it, and you'll see that as I kind of showcase that here right now. The only thing that kind of I'm never too sure about is the sort of player interaction. So here we are designing the house anyway, and this is where we sort of start to put things together. Now this redesign of how you kind of build the house is actually, I think, really great, really intuitive. You have like a little mini house down here on the bottom left, and it enables you to choose all of the different aspects of the house. You can choose, you know, pre-designed rooms, or you can build everything from scratch. It's up to you. This right here, as you can see, it's allowing me to sort of select different areas. So again, here we've chosen the kitchen segment. Okay, so now I can look at, you know, the windows, the utilities, the cabinets, everything. There is all the different aspects. Here's all the beds. Okay, so this is for your bedroom things, all of your kind of chairs, furniture, all this stuff. And so you can kind of go in and choose it. Obviously you have a limited budget to begin with, and we've got to, from that budget, build the house. So we've got to put a foundation, all of this stuff. I decided to go from the suggestion of one of my guys on the stream, we're going to build a studio flat to begin with, because that's a great kind of space. It's basically a single room. Usually we'd have the bed in there as well, and then you have your kitchen furniture, all of that stuff going on, bathroom separate as well. So this is just basically laying out the foundation space. So I'm figuring out what kind of square footage I want my house to be. Now this is actually something that I really enjoy doing, is actually the building designing aspect, and it actually kind of inspired me because I have always really liked this kind of this methodology in the game. And I think actually what I'm going to do is a couple of series of videos where we actually design some houses. I had this great idea that what I would do is whilst we were building on the stream tonight, we were discussing about how we wanted it to look, and I think what would be really cool is to go and look at some kind of traditional houses in different parts of the world. So we'll look at like Germany, okay, look at how there's very specific architectural design there. Sweden, obviously look at the UK, America, different parts there. So all of these things are going to come in there, and I think it'd be great to do a few builds based around those designs, because you know, as I say, they do have very individual styles, and I just love the process of building. Not to mention the fact that if I put these videos together, it's going to give people some inspiration, some ideas, and maybe some people want to base their own houses off of those styles. So that's actually something I quite like to do, because as I say, the building element is something that I super enjoy about The Sims, and you know, this is basically what I always used to do when I was playing in the past, like, you know, 10 years ago it would have been. I used to really sort of enjoy the kind of putting together piece. So here we are actually in the house. Once you've designed your foundations and stuff, you can start putting elements together, start filling out the furniture. But you can also scale items, and we were having a laugh here with the bear, because he can fill the entire house. We were joking, this is why my house has got such a high pinnacle roof, because he's filling that whole space up. We were discussing about like bringing people back to the house. We were like, hey, yeah, welcome back to my pad, and oh, don't mind the bear, he just lives here too, right? But scaling items is a good way of actually sort of filling space, and you don't have to pay any extra. That's the good thing. So if you have a table, chair, even your television, the television that I have down there is the kind of smaller size flat screen, but I've scaled it up. It's a good way of kind of, you know, enabling that kind of space filling, right? But you do have to be careful that you don't have items that then end up intersecting, because then it's going to take those out of the room. You won't have them left in the room. So designing your living space is really important. You want to make sure you have enough light. You want to make sure you have all the utilities that you need so that your sim can, do everything that he needs to do or she needs to do. Make sure that they can get food, make sure that if they have people come around that they have somewhere to sit and entertain and they can talk and all these kind of aspects. So you need to make sure that you've got this going on, as well as having enough space for them to enjoy. And here's, again, a range of all the different items that are available. So once you've built up your house, the next thing you're going to end up having to do is choose your job, your role. And again, there's many details in terms of the characteristics of the Sims and the way that they interact and the way their moods rise and fall and the way that they talk to one another and they work, they get tired from work and they have to be entertained. There's all of these different elements that sort of come together, and they've really designed quite a sort of fluid, emotional system there for the character to run. And that's really what they've tried to do with Sims 4, is to kind of create more emotion, more emotive expression, so that you can see it in your sim when he's kind of depressed, unhappy, is he excited, does he want to go do something, and so on and so on. It kind of is just about making it sort of more expressive so that you can kind of literally see the sort of interactions that are happening there. As well as you get these these little bubbles, these thought poppets that come up, and it's about if he feels inspired, or they kind of, very tired, are they tense, are they, stressed out. So all of the kind of things that you do and interact with have an impact on how you relate, and then the things that you are going to do. So here he is beginning to cook, and so he's going to go make himself a little salad bowl right here, and he's going to start off and go and do that. But the real question, I guess, probably most people want to know is this game for them? And you'd be surprised, actually. I had quite a lot of people on the stream tonight, and loads of the people that I really didn't expect were coming in and saying, like, once they'd watched you play it through, and were going like, hey, this actually looks quite a lot of fun. The one thing that I do think, though, is I say possibly the kind of longevity. This game is not going to be right for everybody, okay? There's some aspects of it which I don't personally sit too greatly with, mainly sort of the interaction, but that's more me than necessarily the game. I enjoy certain elements of it, the kind of constructive element of it, and then when it becomes to the sort of the chatting and things, it's sort of, you find yourself kind of sitting watching them talk, and you're kind of like, okay, what am I doing here? I mean, it's funny, you can sometimes try to create situations that you would imagine would be quite, sort of difficult or interesting, and we were like, okay, we were testing this out. We were like, okay, so let's just wander into the bathroom. Will he even just walk in? Yeah, he just walks straight in there. But here he is working out in the gym, and the reason we got him working out here, he's getting a job. You have to choose your job when you start, your sim life, and this guy is actually taking the life of crime. He's going to be working for a criminal syndicate as a thug and a sort of tough guy. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure if he's cut out for it yet, but he's trying his best, damn it. He's doing a bit of training in here, and it's 50-50 right now, but we'll see how it pans out for him. I'm interested to see actually sort of how much interaction and what kind of options it's going to be available to him later on as we progress through. So we'll see how that pans out. But as I say, this game is not for everybody. There's elements that are. If you are a big fan of kind of like SimCity, the Sims in general, then obviously I think this is going to be one that you're going to want to take a look at. But just coming up here at the end, you see this is one of the interactions that you have with the other sort of Sims. This is my next door neighbor. And, I've actually watched some of the streams of other YouTubers this week and sort of how they've been getting on with the game. And one thing that I do find is that these extended periods of conversation can kind of drag on a little bit. They sort of chat and chat and chat and chat, and you're kind of sitting there going, okay, so they're talking about stuff. That's one aspect of it. But the other thing is that, it seems very easy to get on with people. They just talk and really interact very well, and it seems that provided you don't say something deliberately offensive, they nearly always get on with you. And that's a bit of a problem for me, because I just feel like it's not really pushing you to be clever about how you interact or how you talk with the other Sims, and that for me sort of makes it less enjoyable. It makes me not kind of feel like I'm really achieving anything from interacting with these characters. Apparently from what some of the guys were saying as well, with Sims 3 it was more difficult to kind of achieve these things, so it could be that with Sims 4 they're really sort of aiming in a kind of different direction, and maybe that isn't as important. There are some other corrections and things that we'll look at as we go along that you know, I think would be a good thing. One of the things that came up tonight was the guys were saying it would be really nice to be able to have kind of the option to build down into the basement, you know, dig out, build a basement section so you can have maybe like a games room, something like that. That's not an option as well. Several of the guys have complained as well about the fact that there doesn't seem to be an option to build yourself a swimming pool onto the side of the house. There's obviously was options with previous Sims. Now it could be that those are going to come in with DLCs at future intervals and so on and so on, but again, having the pool for the house seems like it should be an option. But again, maybe this is something that will unlock or come through, you know, we don't know, it's still early days, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But you know, this has been the first little overview of Sims 4, and so far we did actually have like a really surprisingly enjoyable time with it. I actually was going in kind of tentatively with this game, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about it, whether or not I was going to like it, hate it. As I say, the kind of conversational aspect I do feel drags on a little bit, but as for the sort of design, the layout, the customization that you can put into your house, and you have these little things come up as well where, you know, little stories about the guys in their day and things that are happening to them, all this kind of stuff. You can choose you know, whether or not you want your character to work harder at their job, whether you want them to slack off, how well they're going to progress forward. So there is a great deal of detail in there. There's a great deal of interaction. I think at this early game stage, basically, you're not seeing the kind of full aspect of how the interactions with those sim characters themselves are going to work. Once you start to get friend networks and people coming around doing things, and the characters as well will entertain, get on with things themselves, and so on and so on. So it does play out, you know, pretty well at the current time. But I do feel like there's room for some refinement and some of those aspects. So whether or not this game is right for you, I think there's elements of it that will entertain everybody. And you know, if you've never tried a Sims game before, then maybe it's worth picking it up and checking it out. But at the very least, maybe sort of investigate, watch more content, try and find out if it's right for you. Watch some streams is a really good way to sort of start and sort of look at those kind of things. But as I say, for me, the strongest thing about the game is the building aspect. I love the building aspect. It's always the most enjoyable thing for me, and it's definitely something that I want to make a few more videos about, because for me anyway, I find it very, very interesting to do that sort of stuff. So thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, as always, drop a little like, and I'll see you next time for perhaps some more Sims 4.